dental schools are letting in wolves, if you will,
Yeah.
into lunch and learns without vetting them properly, without looking out for the student's best interest. A lot of my classmates, they ended up in great spots, and a lot of them ended up in terrible spots. All dentists know the common career paths, but how do you know which path is right for you, and are there other options out there?
On this podcast, we will be chatting with industry experts. We want to bring you the knowledge and resources you need to take your career to the next level and break down those industry secrets interview by interview.
We are here to ignite a revolution in the dental landscape
and help you, the dentist, build the career you have always wanted.
I'm Dr. Cassidy Reeder.
I'm Carter Frank.
And welcome to the Revolution Dentistry Podcast. I'm Dr. Cassidy Reeder here with my co-host Carter Frank. This is the Revolution Dentistry Podcast, where we help you with strategies to build lasting success for your career. Today, we have a very special guest on. We have Dr. Paul Goodman, otherwise known as Dr. Nachos. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thrilled to be here. Love doing this.
So Dr. Paul Goodman, he's a dentist, multiple practice owner, transition broker, and the founder of both Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect. Dental Nachos is a community of over 65,000 dentisting humans who come together to network, share resources, and engage in live and on-demand CE. I'm actually a member of Dental Nachos Facebook group. Love it. Dentist Job Connect is a platform and service for dentists looking for associateships and practice owners and group practices looking to hire. Dr. Goodman's mission is to create connections and a sense of community within the dental field to increase happiness, decrease stress, and most importantly, reduce the number of times dentists feel like crying inside within a day. Dr. Goodman's motto is ABC, always be connecting. To feel less alone in the dental world is a central part of his mission. After graduating from the University of Pennsylvania School of Dental Medicine in 2002, Dr. Goodman pursued additional training at Albert Einstein Medical Center in Philadelphia, where he had the fortunate opportunity to learn how to place and restore dental implants. Dr. Goodman lives in Center City, Philadelphia, with his wife and two daughters, and Golden Doodle. Thank you so much for joining us. That's all very awesome.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, super excited to have you. To start us off here, tell us about your journey and how Dental Nachos has changed since you started.
Well, Dental Nachos all started with my original failed dream of playing professional basketball in the NBA. I had amazing parents. I worked with my dad as a dentist for 11 years. Sadly, he passed away, and my mom is no longer alive. But I was so lucky to be born to both of them. But it is common for parents to tell their children they can be whatever they want. But when you grow to this size and have this speed, you got to get a different dream, not playing professional basketball. So growing up, I wanted to be a dentist, doctor, or lawyer. I chose dentistry like my dad. My dad was an amazing role model. I think one of the things that I would like to share to maybe make your listeners feel a little more seen, as maybe popular to say, is like my dad didn't think he was born to be a dentist. He didn't wake up every day and say, I just love Crown and Bridge. He thought this would be a good career. I like helping people. And he specifically said he liked being his own boss. But he didn't pressure my brother and I to go to dental school. But I did the 7-year accelerated dental program at Villanova and Penn. My dad said that, private practice is waiting for you. Do a GPR. And I did a GPR and I loved the dental implants. I myself currently really don't practice dentistry right now. I do go to my office twice a month and contribute joy. That's what I call it, guys. I don't know if the outside. But I have 4 businesses, 2 dental practices, Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect. And kind of the journey, I know you probably have a lot of dentists listening who are entrepreneurial nature. And listen, if you own one dental practice, you're an entrepreneur. So if you think of businesses like children, my 2 dental practices are like 20-year-old children. They can take care of themselves. They have some frustrations, but I don't have to do a lot for them. And then I have these 2 other businesses, Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect. If you think of them like a 6-year-old for Dental Nachos, it's been around for 6 or 7 years, and Dentist Job Connect 3 years. They require a tremendous amount of attention, nurturing for them to survive. So I spend the majority of my time at Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect. I still own 2 practices with my brother, and I never knew I would end up here, but I'm really thrilled that I am. Dennis Tarnow. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Dennis Tarnow, but he is
Mm-hmm.
one of the most famous implantologists.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to be a dental speaker. When I saw Dr. John Coy speak and Roger Levin at the Hinman, I said, I would love to do that. And I've been honored to be a speaker since 2005, spoken to groups of 2 people up to hundreds of people. But Dennis Tarnow had a great line. He said, like, why do you go out and leave your family and teach these dentists and all this stuff? And he said, if I can make the difference in one dentist's life and they can treat their patients better, I've had an impact on thousands of patients.
Mm-hmm.
And through Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect, if I can help dentists feel less alone, cry less inside, unlock more freedom, I can have an awesome impact on their lives. So I've kind of changed my impact from patients to dentists, but thrilled to be doing so.
I love that. I love that. And we're so grateful for you, Dr. Goodman, because there are a lot of dentists crying inside every single day. And whatever you are doing, even if it's, like you said, just that one person that you make an impact on, if you make an impact on one dentist, just imagine the thousands of patients who you're going to be impacting as well in association, which I imagine you take into consideration every time, which is spectacular. So, can you tell us a little bit about the associate placement and Dentist Job Connect? So you said it's about a 3-year business of yours now, and I know that you've got a lot of experience in transitions. You've done some consulting, some broker work. So what can you tell us a little bit about the associate placement? And you can even go beyond that with Dentist Job
Sure.
Connect.
I love telling stories. So I don't know if your listeners or you're familiar with the comedian Sebastian Maniscalco or Nate Bargatze.
Of
Nate Bargatze is
course.
one of the most. So these comedians become popular and you go, oh my gosh, they just started. But meanwhile, they've been doing it for 15 years before anyone's ever heard of them.
Right.
So when it comes to bonding dentists together, dental pun intended, it goes back to 2005 for me because I would go on the site Dentaltown. I have a lot of gratitude for Dentaltown because without Dentaltown, there would be no Dental Nachos. There'd be no other Facebook groups. What they did with Dentaltown, it's still in existence. I still check it every now and then. One of the things I can tell you about as a social media person, Dentaltown allows you to do a lot more anonymous with what you post. You can be Molar Roller 423. And sometimes I think that leads to some less kind things being said when you can be anonymous doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So while I'm still on the site and I have a lot of gratitude towards it, I think the Facebook groups in general, you have to put your face behind what you say, which doesn't mean everybody's nice all the time because I do a lot of refereeing. But back on Dentaltown 2005, I taught at a general practice residency program, Albert Einstein, and I would be an attending. And I went on Dentaltown and I said, hi, my name is Dr. Paul Goodman. I have 7 awesome residents who can extract teeth and learned in this program. Would anyone like to have them as associate dentist? Email me at paulgoodmandmd@gmail.com. So that was the original Dentist Job Connect. And I would get emails from all over the country,
Wow.
oh, I need your resident to work for me because you two are too young to get this joke, but maybe some of your 40-year-old plus listeners will. Finding jobs in dentistry is like the video game, The Oregon Trail. It was like the first video game of all time. And we should be embarrassed at how pathetic the ability to find a good job after dental school is. This has nothing to do with Dentist Job Connect and everything to do with how behind the profession of dentistry is.
Mm-hmm.
We got people investing $600,000
Mm-hmm.
in a degree. And they go, oh, how do I find a job to pay off this degree? The dental schools don't help well. There aren't many good sites. It's just this random internet world or talk to a rep. So with Dentist Job Connect, to fast forward, in running Dental Nachos, one of the most common things was I need to find a job or I need to hire an associate. So, when you're nacho nuts enough to start one company with the thoughts in your head, why not just start a second one, guys? So I did Dentist Job Connect 3 years ago, which is an affordable flat fee way to hire your first associate dentist, your 5th associate dentist, your 50th associate dentist.
Mm-hmm.
I proudly share that Dr. Mitchell Rubenstein in New York City hired a part-time associate dentist so he could spend more time with his wife and spend more time lecturing. And I'll also proudly share that one of the largest DPOs out there is a client with over 700 locations.
Wow.
And I have these young dentists, like you and your, cohort, Cassie. I know you're a practice owner already, but they're desperate to find a home that doesn't make them cry inside. So I just got a DM yesterday. Thanks for existing your site because I found a job through you.
Wow.
So it's having a meaningful impact that I find really fulfilling. I love Dental Nachos. It's like my 2 children, my 2 business children. They're awesome and aggravating at the same time. Being a parent is 50% awesome, 50% annoying, 100% exhausting. And it's the exact same thing with being a business owner. So Dental Nachos is this, and we can talk about it as much as you guys want. It's this community.
Mm-hmm.
We are driven by sponsors with our revenue.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an online exhibit 24/7. It's free to the user. There's CE involved. There's using sponsors. There's coming to our events. Dentist Job Connect, we just do one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hire associate dentist, find a job. So that's been really meaningful to me because find it fulfilling that people have real jobs because of my idea.
I love it. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
sharing all that.
Absolutely. I mean, it probably feels great. I mean, just getting a text every now and then, like, "Hey, your site really helped me out." So that would be great. I also
Yeah,
really
for sure.
liked your name, Molar Roller 123. I feel like that didn't get enough. That didn't get enough laughter out of us.
Yeah.
So that's pretty funny.
Yeah, thanks.
So anyway, as we were speaking, you wear a lot of hats from CE to coaching and practice sales. What hat would you say you wear the most right now?
I love that question. And, in this juncture of my life, it truly is the CEO hat of startup businesses, right? It's when I come into work and, we right now I have a workspace in Center City, Philadelphia at one of those places called Industrious. We have multiple offices here. We have about 12 people come in person. We have about 6 people remote, maybe a little more than that. It's about 20 to 24 people work for Dentist Job Connect and Dental Nachos.
Wow.
So the CEO hat is me managing this, leading us, creating teams, building people up. One of the things if I didn't do any of this, I probably would own multiple dental practices. Prior to Dental Nachos, that was my goal. 5 practices, 6 practices, 7 practices, 10 practices. But, and you guys are entrepreneur in nature. So what's cool about dentistry is Addison Killeen, you're going to the Dental Success Summit.
Mm-hmm.
Addison Killeen's a gift of dentistry. He's brilliant. He's got practice in Nebraska. He writes a manual on this is how you start up a dental practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can go and buy a manual. And then I've acquired practice. You can buy a manual on acquiring a dental practice,
Mm-hmm.
what to pay, how to hire a team. But there aren't many manuals for companies named after appetizers. And there aren't many manuals for companies that come from an idea in your head. So the fun and the stress of that is dentistry is a very predictable revenue source. It's rare to see a dental office go out of business. There are definitely ones that are not thriving. There are definitely ones with owners who are frustrated that they're making less money. But the go out of business factor in dentistry, as we see by banks lending us money, because I know there's 2 dentists on this call and 1 normal person, right? We're the ones who decide to go to dental school. But just for a second, like not many people like the dentist. One of my catchphrases is no one likes the dentist. We may as well like each other. Let's be nicer to each other at Dental Nachos, right?
Yeah.
But there's one group of people who love the dentist, okay? They treat us like our moms. Because if someone came to you and said, I had $600,000 in debt and I would like $1 million for a business, what nacho nuts person would give them that million? Dental banks. That's who gives them to us, right?
Right.
So to kind of frame this as to what I do every day, dental banks gleefully give people with $500,000 in debt $1 million loan. Now, as someone who's been a transitions broker, as an update, I now just have sponsors for transitions. I no longer personally do transactions for dental practice.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean you can just rely on the bank to be successful, because just because someone's going to give you money doesn't mean you're going to be successful in that practice.
Right.
But banks are so confident that the dental office won't go out of business. They will lend someone $800,000, $900,000, $750,000 for a startup, right?
Right.
Over in this entrepreneurial world, being a CEO, I've said this numerous times. The operational complexity to running a dental practice is 11 out of 10. Operationally, I think it is one of those complex businesses to run on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Let me explain. If your surgical prosthodontist has a $20,000 day, 5 70-year-olds have taken off to see them for implants, and everybody's set up, but their assistant's child's sick, the day's ruined.
Right.
Ruined. And for anyone who says, oh, just get him another dental assistant for that day, they have no idea how this works, because being a surgical prosthodontist is the most intricate, complicated procedure. So that's operationally complex.
Mm-hmm.
But financially, dental practices don't have a lot of what I would call, I feel like I'm going out of business.
Mm-hmm.
This other world for me with the CEO is kind of the exact opposite. Operationally, we wear sweatshirts, our customers don't show up, we're on Zoom, we're in person. I find it to be 2 out of 10 complexity,
Hmm.
but financial risk, it's like 100 out of 10. So that's why focusing on being the CEO, making sure you stay in business, growing sales, who to hire next, how to invest in people takes up the majority of time. And I truly love it. I was talking to someone to say, I think it's what I was meant to do. So growing up, my dream was to be the CEO of Disney World. His name was Michael Eisner.
Yes.
And I think that's what I was meant to do. But the thing that I'll share, I want you
This
guys to
is a
talk
close second.
I don't know. Nachos might not bring as much joy as the Magic Kingdom to people, but I've had a lot of business coaches. I've invested a lot of money in coaching when I didn't have the money to do it. And I'm very open to feedback. I'm very open to someone looking at me from outside my box. I'm very open to people saying, Paul, you're not doing it right. But one of my business coaches, when she met me in 2018, Aldana Ambler, who helped me grow all this,
Mhm.
she's like, this has nothing to do with dentists. This has everything to do with you. You like to help people. They just happen to be dentists, right? They just happen to be dentists. If you were an accountant, there'd be accounting Nachos. If you were a nurse, there'd be nurse Nachos. So I might be one of those unique people
Mhm.
that could have done like 30 different professions,
Right.
right? Like I don't think, oh, I was born to be a dentist.
Right.
I was born to lecture to people, or I was born to be an author. So I may have just this, it's probably a weirdness or uniqueness that I could do a lot of different jobs.
Mhm.
And that I think lends well to the CEO world.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like, we're fortunate that you just so happen to land here in this
Thanks.
space out of all those others that you could have landed in, what was it? Lawyer, doctor, dentist, you
Yeah.
know?
Those are my three. That you grew up in New Jersey in the '90s. That's kind of or maybe like some of my friends did hedge fund stuff. They're pretty wise financially because they're doing pretty well now.
Wow.
So
Yeah, no,
that is like
that's a
business
whole
person, doctor, dentist, lawyer. I'm a big Gary Vee fan, and like entrepreneur was not like a well accepted career path in 1992.
right. Where did you go to undergrad?
Went to Villanova, great college basketball.
Oh, yeah.
I like I call it doing the work while you're doing the work. I like efficiency. So I didn't know this existed, but I went with my dad. Maybe you guys didn't know this existed. You went to 3 years of undergrad and 4 years of dental school, and you got to
Right.
save a whole year, and that was
Right.
appealing to me.
Right.
When you went to dental school, your first year at dental school, your credits were put on your transcript from Villanova. If you wanted to drop out of dental school, you would have got a biology degree.
Whoa.
So I did the Villanova and Penn Dental combined program.
That's incredible. I didn't even know that program existed. I know that there's some 3-year dental programs out there, right? But I haven't heard of a 7-year all-encompassing within one.
Yeah, it was nice. It like took some pressure off you for DATs. If you didn't want to do dental school after the second year there, you just stay and become a biology major. So I
That's
really
really nice.
so I chose
Take a
that.
lot of the pressure off. I decided to get through undergrad as soon as humanly possible. So I stressed myself out way too much and took all the summer courses and crammed 4 years into 3
Wow.
for undergrad and was able to roll into dental school for the full 4 in dental. And man, it
So you did
was
a similar path on your own way. So
yeah, it was just tough, but yeah, no, it was good though. I'm happy I was out a year early. I think I would have missed a lot of opportunities had I, pushed it out one more year.
yeah.
But yeah, it leads me into my next question for you. So like, you know, what does Dentist Job Connect do for the 5-year, 10-year, 20-year dentists? I know that there's dentists in different phases of their careers, all over. And I mean, not a lot of 20-year dentists are still associates. Some are, but like, what would you say that Dentist Job Connect does for those different types of dentists?
So I love like the alliteration thing. So it's a lot about the F's, right? It's unlocking F's.
Mm-hmm.
So if we start with a dentist out of dental school up to 5 years, it's financial growth. I proudly share Dr. Brandon Lave. You should interview him.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the most amazing young dentists that I know and people. His goal was to find a well-paying associate job where he could develop his skill set. He wanted to do more procedures and make more money. And he was from California. So these people from California, I don't know if you're from
I'm
California,
from
they,
Arizona.
they commonly come over to Philadelphia and go to our amazing schools and eat in our amazing restaurants and then run back to California, right? Run back, fly back. So Brandon was one of those people because you meet people from California, they're quite into California, okay? But he was applying for jobs after his GPR and he could only find ones that maybe he could make 150 grand and he couldn't do the procedures that he wanted to do, like, extractions, dentures, implants. So through Job Connect, he took a job in Missouri. And I don't think in any point in his life he thought he'd be working in Missouri. But he's been there for the past 2 years. His first year there, he made
Oh
$400,000 a
my
year.
gosh.
It's not all about the money, though, because it's also about how he's getting to develop his skill set. That's one of the things. So Brandon was my intern and Ahad was my intern. Brandon went from his GPR to Missouri to work for this amazing guy, Dr. Ross. He's got 5 practices, private group, grows the dentist. But, he's in Missouri. He's not from there.
Mhm.
Brandon, his fiance went with him for part of the time, so he brought like his own friend with him because going rural by yourself could totally be lonely.
That'll be suck.
Then Ahad, our other intern, I was like, Ahad, you should do what Brandon did because like you want to do all this stuff. He's like, well, I got a close family. They want me to be all normal stuff, right? So he stayed in Pennsylvania, but after a year or so, he wasn't growing the way he wanted to as a dentist. He's down there working in Brandon's organization.
There you go.
So what I say is Dentist Job Connect unlocks financial growth, finds you a place that supports you, opens your mindset as to where you go. I'm not saying to all of your listeners you have to go rural to be successful. I'm just sharing that I put my own position on Dentist Job Connect in New Jersey. It's a 2-day-a-week position, guys.
Mhm.
It has a $700 a day guarantee, fairly low. It's a 2-day-a-week position, $700 a day guarantee. We are an out-of-network office. We're a nice group.
Mhm.
We got specialists. So culturally, we're a good place to be.
Mhm.
Mentorship, we're a good base to be. But money, we're like, okay. We had 20 applicants in a month for that one position because we're in central New Jersey.
Right.
And central New Jersey is one of the most popular places for human beings to live on earth, including dentists. So it's to give your audience the context of the reality of finding jobs. Then we get to the 10-year plan. Young dentists like you guys, like you, I know we have one normal person, but us 2 dentists over here. I find new practice owners want associates sooner than they think. I have a friend, Dr. Christian Mullen, who was an AEGD resident in 2021, owned a practice in 2022, hired his first associate, I think, in 2023. So we're giving the new owner the opportunity to maybe say, hey, I don't have to do all the clinical dentistry myself. Maybe I want to treat this more like a CEO type of job where I'm growing my practice.
Mhm.
Then the 20 plus year dentist, we're giving them what I say, more free time, fuel practice growth, and the best thing that dentists want, fewer hygiene checks, right?
Mhm.
Fewer hygiene checks. You hire an associate. So that's kind of the roadmap for the people out of the 20 years, how Dentist Job Connect shows up to help them with one of those Fs.
I might be, closer to that 20-year mark than I thought.
Yeah.
I love associates. Let's bring them on in. Yeah.
I mean, one of the people speaking at my boost camp this summer is Paul Etchison. I don't know if you know Paul Etchison, but you should interview him.
Yeah, I should.
Oh, Paul's amazing. So Paul he was on my podcast, solo GP,
Mhm.
started practice, grew it to $2 million a year. But he's like, I can't do any more than this on my own 2 hands. So he's like, now I'm going to hire associates. Now he does no dentistry. His practice is $6 million a year
Mhm.
with associates. And he's partnered with a DPO. And
Wow.
he just talks about how that's the life he wanted to lead. And, this might just be like a overly simplistic way to look at it, but like a solo GP doing $2 million a year could actually make more money than someone with associates bringing in $4 million a year.
Right.
But maybe someone with associates doesn't feel the pressure of doing all the dentistry herself. It's a both world,
Right.
Just look at both options.
It's true. And you said that you have your own podcast. Is it what's the name of that podcast?
Ours is the dentalamigos.com. We've been doing it with my dental focus attorney, Rob Montgomery. He's an amazing guy. And we just talk about similar things you didn't learn in dental school. I've learned a lot about transitions from everything from LOIs to leases to the people you need on your team to succeed. And then we highlight, I want to connect with you guys to be on. If you guys do a dual one, we highlight cool stories of people doing cool things. We do everything from an immigration attorney to Mark Costas to the forever associate, my friend, Dr. Soraya. So,
I love it.
It's with the theme of Nachos. It's just it's a fun podcast about business leadership and, my common theme of how not to cry inside.
Oh, I'm definitely checking that out. Definitely.
That would be great. And we'd love to join you on that. So moving on here, I know a lot of practice owners can be hesitant hiring an associate because they're sometimes scared of a buy-in or a future sale agreement with them. Would you say those 2 things are necessary to hire an associate?
Not only are they not necessary, I find them to be something that would easily scare an associate off. If dentists, what's interesting? Dentists need to develop excellent communication skills to deal with patients, or they would go out of business.
Mhm.
We have to sit across from somebody who doesn't like us, doesn't want to spend the money, and say, hey, you know how you like chewing? We can help you do that. So dentists develop a really good skill set for communicating with patients,
Mhm.
but they do not know how to communicate with other dentists. I mean, maybe it's because most of them practice alone. Maybe because it could be a combination of insecurities, threats, worries. But I have an associate dentist. And if I went to my office tomorrow and said, oh, hey, I'd like you to buy in, I think she'd be like, I want to quit and leave this place, right?
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have the desire to buy in right now. Maybe she does later. Then if someone sat down and said to me for my last job when I had the 20 applicants, I love where you are, Paul, love to work with you and your brother, but I want to be an owner here in a year, I just say, hey, I think that's an awesome goal. That career plan doesn't fit inside of our model, but it might fit somewhere else.
Mhm.
So what I'll share is the old school nature of wanting to buy in, it's over because the appetite for practice ownership has declined. And I think that is great for certain dentists because we need awesome associate dentists contributing. And one of the reasons why I think this has happened, if you want me to share a few,
Of
is
course.
dentists tend to be married to very motivated people in general. Okay. So, one, the dentist might not even be the one with the most significant career in the household. So, if you're a dentist and your spouse, could be your wife, is the VP at Comcast and might get moved somewhere, you're not staying because you have a job as a dentist in the town. So one is the person you're married to may have a career that requires mobility. Two, I have a good attention. So many owners say to me, how do I get my associate to stay forever, right? How do I get my associate to stay? Because once they love their associate, they don't want to, lose them. I say, here's how you do it. This is my strategy. Complain as much as possible about how hard it is to run a practice, right? Complain.
I mean,
And I
that'll
say
work.
that tongue in cheek, but our associate dentists, we really loop them into how the practice runs, right? We just do. So they have a true understanding of the stress and responsibilities of being a practice owner. And not everybody wants that.
Mhm.
So what I'll share is when you're looking for an associate dentist, just interview them like a patient, find out about what motivates them, and see who fits in your world. And I think we're going to see a lower percentage of practice owners over time. And I think that's going to be awesome because maybe we have these groups working together. Cassie, you might be an owner with 3 practices and you're the owner of all of them. And you've provided 7 associate jobs. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So that's what I would share.
Yeah.
Talk to them, interview them, find out what motivates them, and find the right fit.
I would say that I absolutely agree with you that ownership is declining. And I feel like there's definitely advantages to that for current practice owners like you mentioned. And I feel like there could potentially be some disadvantages to the decline in practice ownership. It's just depending on your outlook, right? I mean, I know that a lot of groups DSOs, for example, they really love to pull from the recent graduate classes.
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of my classmates went, right? Is to like Aspens, to PDS, to
Oh, I mean, you're very right about there's some concerning things happening across the profession.
Mhm.
The things that dentists tend to be sometimes uh, overly dramatic about certain things like all DSOs are bad. It's not
Right,
true. All private practices are good. That's also not true.
right,
Have an intelligent conversation because you know, DSOs tend to be very good with systems, right? Like they have OSHA training, they have HIPAA training, they have health insurance because they're a company and companies have responsibilities, right?
right.
You go to a private practice owner, 53 years old, and be like, when's the last time you had a HIPAA training? They're like, what's that? Is that a trick question? So I say this in jest that let's have a intelligent conversation about what makes both good and also what to watch out for, right? I mean,
Yeah,
there's also a lot of that's why I really have a problem with dental schools. They take $600,000 from human beings and they don't tell them what to watch out for after dental school.
it's true.
And I actually think used car salesmen are like much more ethical than dental schools. I mean, you go to a car lot, they tell you how the financing works, right?
Yeah.
They're like, if you take out 30,000, you're going to have to pay back 47,000. Dental school is just like, take out all this debt. It'll work out fine later.
Yeah. Like take out an extra 20,000 this year, enjoy a vacation,
Yeah.
put a down payment on a house, whatever.
So that I would love if they had more financial fitness and understanding of how the real world works in dental school, so that some of these new grads would be armed with just better information to ask better questions and protect themselves.
I couldn't agree more.
That's
I
Dave
feel like
Ramsey's nightmare.
I feel like
Yeah.
there's dental schools are letting in wolves, if you will,
Yeah.
into lunch and learns without vetting them properly, without looking out for the student's best interest. And yeah, I feel like a lot of my classmates, they ended up in great spots. And a lot of them ended up in terrible spots.
A
And
quick story about this,
yeah.
guys, is in 1995, I went to college, and I really value what my parents taught me, because even to this day, I don't hold any credit card debt. I always felt like you got to pay off your credit card.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying if you have credit card debt, you're a terrible with finance, but I just had a family where it was like we didn't have credit card debt. And then I went to college in 1995. Remember, credit cards were still newish, right?
Mhm.
So they had these companies on campus giving 18-year-olds credit cards.
Oh
And I was
my
like, I'm not getting
gosh.
one of them. My parents will be so mad. But my friends got them, and they ran up these bills, and they had to kick the companies off of campus. So it's exactly like that, those things at the dental schools, right? I'm always saying, like, I have a 6-year-old, guys. If Doritos sponsored her kindergarten class, that would not be cool, because they don't have good nutritional decision-making skills.
No.
But if Doritos sponsors a dental school vending machine, well, you're 23 years old, and if you want to eat processed food right now, that's up to you. So
Right.
I think you're so right, Cassie. These organizations shouldn't have the opportunity to use a word, kind of brainwash such impressionable pre-dentist, right?
Right.
And then I think when you do go to a conference and you're your age and you're at a summit, and if there's a DSO there and you learn about a DSO, you have much more knowledge than you did as a second-year dental student. I'm totally
Absolutely.
with you.
Absolutely agree with you. Yeah, it's a good point. Really, really great point. So that kind of brings me into, and I know that we got to wrap up here really soon. I guess just kind of like, what we've had a lot of different great topics over the course of this interview here. Thank you so much. Like, what's your takeaway advice, for our listeners, and how would you dare them to simplify dentistry?
Well, I love this. You guys have been awesome. I want to have you guys on our podcast, and I can come back
Oh,
again
we'd
for
love it.
another episode or something. So one of my signature things is talking about your dentisting core, right?
Mhm.
And I call dentisting full contact arts and crafts on someone who doesn't want to be there or pay for it, right? That's dentisting, okay? So as a kid of the 80s, and I've always been into fitness, we would go to the gym in 1993, and we would do 10 sets of bench press and 10 sets of bicep curls, and then go eat burgers and fries. And you had all these people with big biceps and skinny little legs.
Yeah.
And then over time, we've learned, like, that's not a healthy physique. You got to develop your core. You got to develop your leg muscles. So your dentisting core, the takeaway is to simplify dentistry and be successful. Your dentisting core are your mind skills, business skills, decisions you make in your head. The most important skill, your word skill, your verbal skills. The words that you say, not only to your patients, but to your team, to your vendors, to other people. Your hand skills, your clinical skills, and your heart skills.
Mhm.
All 4 of those make up your dentisting core.
Mhm.
And we don't value enough the word skills and the mind skills. And we teach dentists, just prep crowns better, or just insert veneers better, or just place implants better.
Mhm.
And they become like those lopsided fitness people like me of the 80s. So my message would be, work as much on your communication skills as your clinical skills. When
Mhm.
someone says to me, what's more important, communication skills or clinical skills? The answer is communication skills, because without them, you can't practice your clinical skills.
Mhm.
So if you go to a course and spend $10,000 on how to do all on fours, and you can't come back and you can't get a patient to say yes to on-4s, you don't help anyone.
Right.
So you got to do both at the same time. And then also how you think you're. What's one of my biggest regrets in my dental career?
What?
Not paying attention to numbers early enough, not paying attention to insurance write-offs. I just said, oh, these are our patients. Doesn't matter if we write off 50% of the fee. I was wrong. I regret it. I wish I could go back to 2010. We went out of network in 2022. Doesn't mean you have to go out of network.
Right.
Doesn't mean just how money flows through your office is like the most important thing. And that's another thing that we should talk about loudly. So that would be my takeaway. Work on your dentist core. Be friends with dentists. No one likes us. We may as well like each other. And try to have as much fun as possible along the way.
You've been
Absolutely.
great fun here, Dr. Goodman.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
We've enjoyed having you on a ton. Before I sign us off here, if someone wanted to reach out to you to learn more about Dental Nachos or Dental Job Connect, where could they find you at?
Awesome. The easiest ways is our dentalnachos.com website. I put a lot of work into it. It gets to anyone on my team. There's like complimentary courses that you can get. There's things you can learn about. And dentistjobconnect.com, you can scroll through 300 open jobs and just see what's out there. And we have blogs on what to ask on job interviews. So those two websites would be the best way.
That's so
Awesome.
cool. Great
Awesome.
resources.
Sounds good. Super excited to have you on here. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, thanks for tuning in to the Revolution Dentistry podcast. If you're finding value here, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're here every week to help you grow. We'll see you next time.